Here's the Vivo X200 and the X200 Pro. Is there a difference? Yes, and let's go over it. So which phone is for who? I would say the X200 is for the casual consumer and the X200 Pro is someone like me who likes to take photos. Starting off with the telephoto, you do get a 3x button on the X200 and on the Pro you get a 3.7. And don't worry, I'll show you the camera quality between these two at a later part of the video. And for video, it's the same thing, you get 3x and 3.7. On the Pro version, you do get a Dolby Vision button on the top and you do have more options to shoot, like you get 4K 120 and 8K. In portrait video mode, you can shoot up to 4K 30 and on the regular one up to 1080. And then you get more zoomed in options as well. In terms of total modes, the only difference I noticed is the stage mode on the Pro, which is a mode you can use when you're in concerts, and when you press on the button you get so many options to zoom in quickly, but you can still do that on the main photo mode. In portrait mode, you do get a quick button to 100mm on the regular one and 135 on the Pro version. And the layout on the back cameras are different too. A camera experience that stood out to me is when I'm at 10x, I noticed that shooting on a regular X200, sometimes the stabilization is not there and sometimes it is there, and using the 10x on a 200 Pro, it's always stabilized. Now let's move on to the camera quality, and for the ultra wide, they're both the same thing, meaning that they have the same camera lens and the same camera sensor. So whenever I'm showing you the results from the ultra wide camera lens, most likely you won't see a huge difference. Now for the main camera, there is a difference. Both of them are still at 50 megapixels, but on X200 is the Sony IMX921 and on X200 Pro is the new Sony Ladia 818 sensor, which I believe this is one of the first phones to use this sensor as well. So this is a bigger sensor than on the one on the X200, meaning that it should give you better quality and accept in more light, which I can kind of already tell by shooting some video where it is a bit brighter on the X200 Pro. For the telephoto lens, there is a huge difference, as you can already tell. The X200 is using a 50 megapixel IMX882 sensor, and the Pro version have a 200 megapixel HP9 sensor, which has a sensor size of 1/1.4. And that's the same sensor size as the Oppo Find X8 Pro's main camera. And since it is one of the largest ones on a zoom lens, you can easily get some natural bokeh or background blur just by hitting on a 3.7x. Now moving on to photos, you have three options of color profile. You get vivid, textured, and the Zeiss natural. And obviously, vivid gives you more of a punch. The textured seems like it's just a bit darker, and for natural, it looks like the hand package seems to be white for my eyes. Now with all these pictures, I'm going to be using the Zeiss natural profile, and now that I put them side by side, it does seem like the X200 Pro does have more of a strict white balancing, so the white do look white, and on a regular X200, sometimes the white can look a little bit yellow or green. Now when you're taking pictures with the main camera lens, anything up close, you can naturally get more of that background blur, which is a really nice look that I do prefer. And I know some regular people may not like that and they just want to see everything in focus. Now when you're taking pictures of a subject far away, then most likely they look very similar and you can't really tell the difference besides the color. Where you will see a bigger difference is when you start using the telephoto lenses, which the background is more naturally compressed and you see a lot more background blur. And when I'm looking at these telephoto pictures from the X200 Pro, it makes me want to keep using it, which it reminds me of getting pictures similar to an actual point and shoot camera. And out of all the camera phones I've used, the X200 Pro is probably the best telephoto lens I've actually used so far, especially if you're coming from a photography background. So if you're a regular consumer, you probably won't notice these little things or the background blur or the compression, or maybe you don't really care about it at all, so that's why I would recommend getting the Vivo X200 for those type of consumers. And also it is a bit cheaper, and since I was just walking around taking photos, it seems like it's also a pretty good phone for street photography. I'm gonna call it right now, and I'm gonna believe that the X200 Pro is gonna be one of my favorite phones to use to take photos. It's gonna sit right next to the Xiaomi Ultra line, and I wonder which one will be the first one to make a phone with the main camera lens and a telephoto to be a 1-inch sensor. Now moving on to portrait mode, it's pretty amazing straight out the box, and usually I am a bit skeptical around my glasses area where the cutouts around that can be a bit weird or not accurate at all. And on both of these phones, they hit it right on the spot. So it's nice to know that I don't need to wait for any improvements for future camera updates. Now there is a bit of a difference between these two. On the X200, it seems like I am a bit brighter, especially my black coat. And on the X200 Pro, it seems like my skin tone is a bit more saturated and it has more warmth and pop to it. I feel like for the regular consumer, they would probably lean towards the picture on the X200 since it is brighter and they can see the person. But for me personally, I do like the warmer skin tones. But actually, let me know in the comments which one you prefer. Now taking pictures in a very dark spot like inside a moving car, the Pro is a bit cleaner and sharper. But as the first day using these two phones, I do need to do more testing and I will compare them with other phones too. It's also my first time using a Vivo phone and I am so impressed by the X200 Pro. It's already gained a spot into my rotation and it's gonna be one of my dedicated cameras just to take photos on the phone. And since I do have the global version, I do have access to Google Play Store and download all the apps I want to use. So let me know your thoughts on these two phones and which one is the right one for you. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys later.